Harry's wife, Wallis. The international news, by the enigmatically named web desk, poses the question, why is Harry's wife called Wallis? Apparently, royal fans are trolling Harry's wife after the Duke and Duchess of Sussex decided that only Prince Harry would go to the United Kingdom to attend the coronation. The former American actress was called Wallis in an online campaign targeting Harry's wife after reports emerged that she wanted to deny King Charles the chance to meet his grandchildren. Wallis, of course, is a reference to Wallis Simpson, the American socialite who married a British king 80 years ago, while Walmart's name was used to ridicule Harry's wife over her multiple photos taken outside grocery stores on different occasions. In 1936, Britain's King Edward VIII decided to abdicate the throne in order to marry Simpson, an American divorcee. Wallis Simpson died in Paris, aged 89, in 1986, 14 years after the death of Edward, who was ostracised by the royal family after his abdication and marriage. Harry's wife supporters like to draw comparisons between the Duchess of Sussex and the late Princess Diana, while her critics think that she is more like Wallis Simpson. Accordingly, another name that has landed on Harry's wife, Wallis. I actually thought that rather than it be reference to her being photographed outside of supermarkets, it was actually more likely to be a reference to suggesting that she's the cheap version of Wallis, that she is a more everyday version, and therefore it's doubly insulting to reference her as being like Wallis Simpson, and also suggest in effect that she's cheap and ubiquitous. This, of course, would be challenge fuel, and undoubtedly that Harry's wife would be made aware of this, such as her preoccupation with finding out what's going on social media. As we know from Tom Bower's work, that she does regularly view what is going on social media and in the media about her. The fact that she's been spoken about is fuel, that's not the problem. The fact that it's a derogatory reference that will cause her to have her fury ignited, resulting in her complaining again about the hateful way the press treats her. However, this isn't the first time that she's ended up with a nickname. Indeed, the internet and the mainstream media are flourishing with the various nicknames that she has. There is, of course, Meghan, Megnut, Megzilla, Megalodon, Mimi, Duchess Difficult, which came from the palace staff, the Duchess of Delusion, the Duchess of Industrial Beige, Di 2, a reference to Diana, Princess of Wales, Di Light, again another reference to the late Princess of Wales. Her neighbours have dubbed her the Princess of Monty Shitshow. King Charles called her Tungsten. Camilla apparently calls her That Minx. Lady Colin Campbell referred to her as the Adventuress. Harry's wife, of course, is what many of us call her, or the wife, and of course, Yacht Girl. But there's probably plenty more of nicknames that she has received, and I'd invite you to provide the ones that you know about in the comments section. Of course, as I've explained elsewhere, that as a consequence of the narcissist view of you as being appliances, you often receive pet names. Harry's wife, of course, refers to Harry as H, or my now husband. She objectifies him because subconsciously she sees him as nothing more than a toaster, a television set, a washing machine, or a refrigerator. And whilst there are some who think that her providing him with a pet name is some form of affection, that is some term of endearment, it isn't, because remember, it's coming from a narcissist. She will think that it's endearing because her narcissism will cause her to view it that way. But because she is a narcissist, the fact that she is using such a term is indicative of the way that she objectifies him. Undoubtedly, she'll have nicknames for many people in her life, using those pet names, which is demonstrative of the way that she objectifies them. She, of course, is clearly allowed to do this. She is allowed to reference people by way of their nicknames. She is allowed to call them H or Has, my now husband, that she would undoubtedly have probably unpleasant nicknames for members of her family. But you are not allowed to issue a nickname to her. No, of course not. Because to do so would be offensive to her. And she thinks that she's amazing and wonderful and above such things. To help you understand more about this hypocrisy of the narcissist, I'm now going to direct you to Pet, a video which tells you more about why the narcissist utilizes pet names with regard to those. Thus, Harry's wife does that, whilst of course rejecting any suggestion that she should be furnished with nicknames herself. Pet. Objectification. Sexpot. Angel. Babe. Honey. Princess. Baby girl. Penguin. Corky. Glowworm. From the obvious and well used, to the corruptions and bastardization of your first name, through to the downright bizarre, pet names are a standard feature of relationships. Parents may have a nickname or pet name for their child. We use nicknames for our friends. But, most often, they are used in the context of an intimate relationship. Their use is to denote endearment, and to highlight something special and unique. Although, using babe is hardly going to win any awards for originality, is it? And it does this between that person and their significant other. When used in the context of a non-narcissistic relationship, they are relatively harmless, perhaps hinting at something which teases, and might be mildly embarrassing. For example, calling somebody glowworm because they go red and become embarrassed easily. But generally, they are used as a fond and kind epitaph. The situation, however, becomes corrupted and is used entirely different in our hands. We use pet names for our primary sources, but our motives for doing so are not about being genuinely endearing, but for a host of more nefarious reasons. Although all narcissists are likely to use pet names, they're more prevalent among lesser and lower mid-range. Furthermore, these pet names are used more extensively for the primary source, but they will also be used for secondary sources, both intimate and non-intimate. The utilization of these pet names is for the following reasons. 1. It is done to appear endearing to you, so that you think that you are actually special to us, that you merit being given a pet name. Therefore, you are led to think that we naturally care and love you, since we have taken this little special step. And this is done because it is a standard step in many intimate relationships, and all we are actually doing is mimicking what we have seen for the purposes of controlling you by making you think that the relationship between you and us is wonderful, special, and marvelous. 2. Possession. The narcissistic mindset is such that you are our possession. By giving you a label in this manner, we are branding you and stamping on you that you belong to us. It enables us to exert control over you. Indeed, this branding is often done in the context of getting you to have a tattoo of our name on you, or the pet name that we have given you to be placed on you. And, in certain instances, is taken so far as to actually have names or initials branded upon an individual. See, for example, Keith Ranieri's cult. 3. Objectification. We dehumanize you because we actually see you as objects. Lesser and mid-range narcissists do this in their unconscious. Greater and ultra recognize that we just see you as possessions that have been objectified, that we utilize for our purposes. Giving you a pet name reinforces the objectification that you are subjected to. We may well call you Angel, but from our perspective, you're just an angel, one of hundreds, no thousands that are out there. In the way that those who find themselves in a perilous situation might use their name with an aggressor or kidnapper in order to humanize themselves, to protect themselves, to try and create a connection with their kidnapper. We utilize pet names to dehumanize you. It is our position that you are an object to us, and therefore, as part of this dehumanization and objectification, you become easier to control and therefore abuse. 4. We use the same pet names for many of our appliances. There will, of course, be differences when, for example, the pet name is a play on your actual name. So, if you're called Rebecca, we might call you Becky Pops. But if it is a pet name which has nothing to do with your actual name, and is nothing to do with an actual distinct attribute of yours, then you should be aware that the name that you have been given is neither unique, novel, or special. Plenty of other people before you will have been called by the same name. Understand also that your replacements will receive this pet name as well. 5. By using a pet name and keeping the same for all of our relevant sources, both primary and secondary, we minimize the risk of calling you accidentally by the wrong name and bringing about questioning and a challenge to our control. Thus, if we call you Sugar Bumps and we are having an affair, the other person will also be called Sugar Bumps. If you are ever granted access to the narcissist's phone, do not be surprised to see Sugar Bumps 1 and Sugar Bumps 2 in the directory. 6. As with many things narcissist, what we grant we then take away in order to upset and assert control over you. Thus, if we always referred to you during a seduction as hot stuff, you can expect that come devaluation, we no longer call you hot stuff and call you by your actual name, or indeed, we might corrupt your pet name, calling you iceberg or cold stuff instead. This is devaluing behavior which is done to make you react and for the purposes of asserting control over you by being hurt as a consequence of this change in the supposedly affectionate pet name. 7. In some instances, the pet name may actually seem like a compliment to you, but instead it has a hidden meaning which is known to us, and whilst you smile when you hear this name being used, we are actually laughing at you on the inside because you don't realise you are being insulted. Others may well be in on this inside joke as well. So, for example, we might jokingly refer to you as the boss, and we say this in front of you in our coterie. And we would say, "Thanks for asking, I'll have to run it by the boss." You hear this and you smile at this apparently affectionate deference to your authority, oblivious to the fact that my coterie and I know that the name actually means best of 7 sluts, being a reference to how we regard you sexually and, of course, devaluing behaviour. 8. In some instances, we forget who you actually are because of the fact that we regard you as an object. But if we call all objects Munchkin, then we can fall back on that and refer to you by this name without appearing stupid for forgetting what you are called and inviting a threat by way of a challenge to our control. 9. We may invent new and different pet names, which are insulting, disrespectful and unpleasant when we embark on our devaluation of you. We may call you the Rash because you keep appearing everywhere when we do not want to see you. We may call you the Pirate because you have small breasts, i.e. a sunken chest. We may label you as the Thorn because you are a pain in our side. Or we may just go for it, as my regular listeners and readers will know from my treatment of Leslie. Number 10. We will also insist that you use a pet name for us, but then we choose it. Of course, nobody normal or empathic chooses their own nickname and then tells them to use it. This is evidence of our grandiosity and the need to assert control. Nicknames ordinarily evolve from characteristics witnessed by those around the recipient of the name. The fact that we appear and tell you to call us golden balls is evidence of our sense of entitlement, need to assert control, and grandiosity. The use of a pet name by our kind is never to be regarded as pleasant and complimentary. It is a device for control. It is a device for demeaning you and upsetting you. In the same way that one keeps a pet animal, that is how you are regarded, as we keep you in one of our gilded and then blackened cages.